Okay, so that's the alcohol burner updated. This is the little alcohol burner that comes with the Stirling engine as I purchased it, and it has this little brass insert that holds the wick. I want to improve it slightly and just make it my own. So I'm going to take it and just make a new version that will fit down into the glass and probably have a little rim here that might catch extra alcohol if it leaks out over the rim here. So I'm going to explore that and see what comes up. Let's see what happens. So I'm starting with a piece of 3/4 inch brass stock, and I'm just going to turn it down to dimension, clean it up a little bit. I'm going to match the outside dimension of the original cap on the alcohol burner. So now I'm making the recess that fits inside the opening of the alcohol burner. Going to do a first test fit. Nope, a little bit too big. Take a few thousandths off. Let's have another look. Nope, still too big. Glass, when it's blown, is never perfectly round, and so I may have measured a slightly smaller diameter on a different axis when I ran my caliper in there. Third time's almost a charm. A couple more thou would be better. Taking off maybe a thou here. I want to have a nice snug fit. I don't like something that's going to jiggle around inside that glass. Yep, that looks good. A little chamfer on the bottom edge. Take my file and clean off that edge and the other edge that you didn't see me chamfer there, just to clean it all up and make it softer, and then a little Scotch-Brite just to smooth it over and make it all homogeneous looking. Now I'm going to drill the hole for the wick, so I'm starting with a center drill, of course, and it wandered off, so I noticed that I'm going to have to tweak my tailstock. Something wasn't right there. So I cleaned it up, and I'm going in with the drill size for the wick hole. I'm looking at my DRO to make sure I know how deep to go. That looks good. Starting the parting now to part off this whole part. And of course I'm speeding up the footage here because it takes a lot longer to do it very slowly and meticulously. And boom, I dropped it. Okay, good enough. So I flipped it over and grabbed the thin part, so now I can chamfer that edge. And now I've got a round nose cutter, so I can make a little, kind of a little moat around the outside edge, so that if any alcohol spills, it gets trapped in this little, let's call it a moat. Clean up the inside edge a little bit. Just make sure it's nice, because the wick will guide in from both ends, depending on how you want to load the wick into this cap. It might load in from the bottom or the top, and that looks pretty good. So it will sit right there. Very nice. I think it's a lot prettier than the original one. So now that I've made this little brass top for the alcohol burner, they provided this little well to index the burner underneath the cylinder here, and I want to make that out of brass too. So I'm going to take a piece of that 1/2 inch brass that I've been using for all the tombstone bearing mounts and make a nice little round base to hold this. I'm going to start with this leftover scrap of 1/2-inch brass, and I think I'm going to start by making a mark in the center so I can use that as an indexing reference, and then just trace this original unit, because why not? Yeah, okay, I can cut that out with the bandsaw and get that chucked up on the lathe. I've set this up on the 3-draw chuck with the parallels and tapping it firmly into place. That looks secure. In fact, if they're hard to pull out, then you know you did it right. So now I'm going to skim surface the top edge first. Actually, I think this will be the bottom edge, I've decided. It's nice to have a good reference surface either way. I did do a second pass that you didn't see there with the round nose cutter that makes a much nicer finish. So now I'm going to take down the edge here very carefully. I've set a depth stop there so I don't hit the jaws, of course. So now I can go back and forth with my motorized carriage, just using a switch to drive it back and forth. If you haven't seen my carriage motorization video, I will link to it below in the description. So that's all rounded over nicely. So now I can take it out, flip it over, and run it up against that cut edge. Actually, I think unseen there, I actually put some parallels in there and adjusted it perfectly and set it up. So once again, kind of zooming back and forth with my motorized carriage, which at a flip of a switch I can just reverse back and forth, and then of course increment in on the cross slide. Going to get a pretty close match there, even though of course my 3-draw chuck is about 3 or 4 thou out of center. So now this will be the top edge, so I'm doing a nice decorative bevel here. Back to my round nose cutter, because I'm going to start making the indent here where the glass bottle will sit. I started at an approximate location, and I think I'm going to have to work my way out, as I remember. But first, working my way in to create a recess. So I'm just going to continue to work my way in and hollow this out. I've got to go about, 200 thou, 250 thou maybe. That round nose cutter makes a really nice finish on brass. I recently just honed it in with a diamond hone. And I'm going to have to move it out a little bit. I didn't start far enough out, so I'm just edging out using the edge of that cutter, which isn't as sharp as I'd like it to be. And looks like I'm getting there. It does create a nice finish though. Another cleanup pass across the bottom there, because I could have gone a little deeper before. So let's check that bottle and see how it's looking. No, it's not quite wide enough. It's not sitting in there properly. So let's keep on widening that out with that round nose cutter. Went a little wider and a little bit deeper too. Notice there's a little bump in the middle. I had to micro adjust the height of that cutter for some reason. But I got that cleaned up, and now of course using some Scotch-Brite to make it all shiny. So this is the bottom, which I had previously finished rather nicely to no avail, because I forgot that I need to make this shallower. When I test fit the burner in this on the base, the flame was right up too close to the cylinder, and of course I needed to adjust this height down, which I've done. Now I'm going to bore a hole in there for the flathead screw that will screw it down to eventually to the wood base of the whole Stirling engine. Drilling this out for a number 8 screw. And yes, I am going to use a flathead machine screw into wood, and I can actually use a tap to tap into that walnut. So here I am making the countersink for that wooden screw, or the wood bolt, shall we say, that goes into the wood. Take some firm pressure with that particular chamfering tool. And there we are. Let's check the little bolt head, and that is really nice. So a little bit of cleanup on that, and some emery paper. I managed to scar up the outside with my 3-drawer chuck because I'm not protecting it when I remount it each time. So a little cleanup with this, a little Scotch-Brite. It's all going to look nice. Okay, so that's the alcohol burner updated. This is the new top and the new base with a nice little brass screw there. I'm going to put some alcohol in there and fire it up just so we can see it go, which is always exciting. Put a little alcohol on the top there, and that's why I put that little recess in there, so the extra alcohol spillage there will just get contained instead of just kind of shedding right off of there. So we'll light her up. I think that's lit. So it's had some time to warm up, and here we go. Yep, that's looking good, running as it should. So if you've been enjoying this video, please give me a like, thumbs up, and subscribe if you want to, because there are going to be many more episodes to complete this project. I haven't even started mounting the parts onto the wood base, for instance, and I definitely have quite a bit more to do. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching.